48 whole hours, huh?
3.
Welcome. This is the December 3rd, 2009 version of the Goffstown Budget Committee. We welcome the participants and the viewers. First of all, if we could start with Dick, and we'll do the roll call counterclockwise, please.
Richard Fletcher.
Christy Garrison.
Ivan Bellevaux.
Bill Gordon. Guy Karen.
John Heichel.
Dan Cloutier.
Steve Fournier.
Kathy Samard.
Sue Tremblay.
Doreen Olson.
All right, if I do the counting, we have 11 members, and I have you all marked. I have not heard from anyone else, so I would expect us to have a full membership here before the end of the evening. But that doesn't mean we are going to stop what we've been doing. We are going to continue the process that we started on Tuesday, going forward and making motions according to the rules that we have set aside for ourselves. One thing that I said I would do tonight that we didn't do on Tuesday was see if there was any public comment. Do we have any public comment? Because we have a couple of public. Okay. Then we'll go forward from there. Was there any other information that we did not attend to that I need to attend to tonight before we start? Okay. Let me take a peek. Seeing none, the rules of engagement are motions are made, need to be seconded. They must be done at no more than the macro level of the MS-27, okay? Again, I recommend and I do suggest if we go to the details as much as we can. If we can, that's great. If not, we didn't vote to allow it because it is allowable in the law. We were unsuccessful in voting to disallow it. Do we all understand the process? Any questions on the process? Okay. And while we are here, the one thing that's slightly different with the school budget than the town is that the MS-27, which is the form for the school, the MS-7 on the town, when you look at all the account numbers, are pretty much segregated by departments. So that whole department is sitting in one of the MS-7 categories. For the school on the MS-27, what we're looking at is, if I pull it up, the form would be 1100 to 1199, but there's that particular category sitting in all of the schools plus Z000 possibly. So we might have 6 different places where that 1100 could show up. So let me get my little sheet up. And the first thing I'm going to do is put into play the number for which we have been given with a budget proposal from so we're going to adopt, I need to adopt the budget, our starting point. I did correspond with Keith that the only budget request we have from the school board is the general fund budget. We have yet to receive any request for federal funding or any request for food services. Those, if you need funding, I'm going to need those details. And we can probably take that up, I would hope, before we put a number to public session. So at the moment, I'm looking for a motion to start with what we have, which is $35,160,211. $160 million, no, excuse me, 35,160,000. My little sidebar didn't work. 211. Do I have someone making that motion?
I'll second that.
That would be Guy and Bill Gordon. Adopt starting point. Dave is on the floor. Is there any, is there any need to discuss this? Go Christie?
So we got the special revenue and the food services, those things you requested.
We did?
I don't know.
No, we did not.
That's not in this budget.
That's not in that number that we started with. The 35 million does not include, that's only the general fund piece. We do have a number, because I am going to presume that the number on the last default budget calculation that we got includes a couple of totals. 400 no, that's the old one, 510,500 and $955,731 on that sheet. But we don't have the actual request in the detail line by line that we normally get for a request to start, because we do get the opportunity to review that. Is there any discussion on that piece, or you ready for the vote to adopt the number to start with? Cool. All those in favor of our starting point, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. That is now 12. And so I will start marking it. Dan, Bill Gordon, Kathy, Christie, David, Dick, Darlene, Guy, Ivan, John, and Steve, and Sue. And that is 12. All right. Let's start at the very beginning. I'm not sure how we want to do it, because the MS-27 is by program ID, and that would be 1,100. And there are 1,100 in Bartlett, the district, Goffstown High School, and it is here, and Roger is here. So we have two more. Let me go ahead and mark you guys off. Did you guys get caught in traffic?
There's a horrible
was an
traffic jam on Wallace.
Mass
Street.
Road is closed by unique
Because
form.
Mass Road was, yeah, there was a real bad accident.
Yeah, but it was open when I came up.
So, hmm?
It was open.
I called the police department at 6:10, and they said they had opened, but it was very heavy traffic at the
And
time.
by the time I got by it.
I got caught in the
Went right
traffic
through.
on Wallace, that there's a hypnotist
That's what I
at the high
figured.
school.
Oh,
And
my.
the whole thing is all backed up.
So you're saying that they're stuck there at the lights, zombie-ish?
Everybody's gonna be,
All right, let me start the count again. 1, 2, 3, I got 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And we have 2 chairs left, so we're doing good if everybody shows up. All right, where am I? Let me just open up the floor. Let's, because of the school is done, Mr. Gordon, you have a motion?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I'll give you the numbers. I can move against each of the individual items on the MS-27. I can do it all at once.
All right, thank you.
I very carefully took the summary of the
Okay.
budget. Ignore the bottom, the totals on the bottom of the first page.
What Mr. Gordon, for those in the public, what Mr. Gordon has given to me is a completed MS-27 form itself. And am I to presume your motion will be made at the macro level?
Yes.
Okay, which is legally available to you, so it's total 1,100, total 1,200. How many copies do we have?
I don't have enough to go around because my
Okay,
printer was
then I will go
incredibly
ahead
slow.
and, as I, is your motion going to be by program account, or is it gonna be in total?
I'd like to go by total.
It's your motion.
Fine.
I just wanna know how I'm gonna read it.
By total.
how I'm going to read it. You guys got your pencils ready?
Would it be possible, Dan, if you could get this sent to me, and I can go in there and I can print off copies, cause,
I can send it to you.
wait, can you do that? Would that be easier, and I'll go and print the copies, cause if we,
Yeah, that
might be a
that would
wiser
be-
piece than us trying to figure out from one sheet.
That would be applicable. In fact,
So, I'm gonna need,
Either that, or if you've got a copy machine, why don't you just copy?
the copy machine's upstairs,
Oh,
and
all right.
I,
don't know how to use it, unless you do use.
How to use it if you can get in.
Oh, I think I have a key, sure.
I also have a key, I've been told, but I've never used it
Yeah,
in
but
5
it'll have
years.
to warm up, so.
It
Well,
might not be, it might
I
be.
have no
partial.
preference, if we can get in there and print it, fine,
Why
but
don't
it might
you-
be a lot faster than.
Why don't you go ahead and email it to
Do you,
Steve?
do you wanna take that copy and go up, and maybe I can get,
Yes.
and can I have a head count?
Christie.
While-
Since there are 15 here, including our scribe, and 2 in the audience.
So 17 copies will do us good?
Because once we get it, it's a public document, so.
Bill, send it to me
Bill
anyway,
and
just in case.
Dan
it's-
already have one. Steve,
Let him be.
Bill
So
and Dan
what we
already have
can,
one.
let's do this, while we,
Not this year.
while we are gonna be absent of member, I really don't wanna do a whole lot of official business.
Right.
Do you have a,
A question
yeah,
for
okay,
you,
okay,
from the emails that you sent.
okay.
So your tax impact, could we go over that just for viewers watching?
Not really,
No?
no.
Why?
I would rather have
Oh,
Steve
till
come
they come
back,
back.
because
Okay.
that would be the official business.
Okay.
And again, these were my work papers that I may or may not have had
Okay.
the opportunity to scrutinize to the level of distribution yet.
Okay, okay.
I believe they're accurate, but what I can do, instead of going into, motion, is I can let everyone know how we calculate the cost per $100,000. There is an assessed valuation on the last time we produced it, which was about a month or 2 ago for the tax rate. And there was a net assessed valuation. What that is all the value of all the property in town, less the credits that go out, like war service credits and all those other credits for conservation and all those other things that go down. The net assessed valuation of all property in town is $1,407,201,100, okay?
Oh, go with that.
So, but the interesting part about that is when you do the school tax rate, there's the state piece and then there's the local piece. The state piece does not include the value of the property is utilities. So we have to net out the utilities, and so the valuation of the property in Goffstown without utilities is $1,378,047,000. And what that's done is, when you come back and you figure out what the state's gonna do, the state came up with $2.41, and that is not, if you look around the state, you're not gonna see everybody getting $2.41, because they have to do the equalization, and depending on where Goffstown is on their equalization, it might be at 100, it might be at 105 or 10, it might be less. This is the DRA, brings those numbers up to the same platform, and and then they calculate the number, and then divide it, and come up with the $2.41. So, when we look at the $2.41, and we look at the difference, the rate per $100,000, basically all that is you take that total net assessed value of $1.4 billion, and you just take $100,000 and you divide it into that, and then you multiply it by 1,000, because the tax rate is always assessed per 1,000, and that came up to 7.1 cents rounding. Next year, what I did, was I put a 0.25% increase in valuations. That would mean either not your existing property might be more, but maybe there's some building going on.
Right.
And when we're all done, that might be 0.25%. So when we look at that, that was like about maybe, I think it ended up being about $3.5 million. About $3.5 million of additional property values in town, and that brought the rate per 100,000 down to 7.09 cents. So it's, I rounded off saying like 7 cents. So when we say it, so every time the committee, every $100,000 you see, it's like 7.1 cents. So every time you see, if there's an adjustment in either direction of $100,000, you can figure that's 7 cents on the tax rate. So if you have a $200,000 of property value, that's 7 cents times 200, or, okay?
Which
So,
is gonna lower the rate.
which is like, that, what do you mean?
Does that increase the rate or lower?
It depends whether we take the money and reduce it or add money in. So it goes in both directions. Yes, Doreen?
This doesn't include any federal money that this town could get, right?
What is that?
The tax rate is based on state money.
Yes, it does.
And it
It-
does include federal money.
Yes, various different sources of federal money. One of the federal money being the Special Revenue Fund, and
Right.
other federal money that would be included on the revenue tab in your spreadsheet. I have been unable to do a one-to-one deciphering of it, so I'm just trusting the total number.
Okay.
And so the total number of all, from all revenue sources, because I do believe, because there are, you look at Medicaid, there's an estimate of $90,000 for Medicaid. So there's something coming in from the feds. Child nutrition programs, those are probably catastrophic from the state. Different things like that. Federal sources would be IASA, I'm not quite sure what that is. $510,500, so that might be that looks like that's the Special Revenue Fund. And then food services is there someplace, I'm not sure. We'll find out, and then maybe I'll be able to have a chat with Ray, and he can give me a little more education on that particular piece of it. Do you know if the copier is working?
You
or-
need a password to get into the copier.
That's right, a 4-digit, and they had,
Password. I
yeah.
tried 11111, but it didn't work.
We'll have to try to get that. Does that start to help at all for anything?
No, well,
Okay.
I just would like to have the tax impact on the budget that's presented to us right now, what it would be for,
Given, it looks right now, from what we've done, that the tax impact would be about an increase of $3.51,
per
$100,000.
100,000,
Yeah, no, per thousand.
per thousand.
Per thousand evaluation. So if you had a home that was, let's say $250,000, that's $878. There are a couple of items that directly impact that. Because there are two sides of the equation. There's the revenue side and there's the expenditure side. If the expenditure side goes up, then the tax rate goes up. If the expenditure side goes down and the revenue side goes down more than what the expenditures went up, then the tax rate goes up. There's also something called the unreserved fund balance. What the unreserved fund balance is the money that's been appropriated, so it's been raised from taxes, but left unspent. So if the school board has been very tight on their expenses and hasn't spent the entire appropriation, they are not allowed to hold that in the kitty. It has to come back. Last year, there was about $3,370,000 that got put back to go against the tax rate, the one that you guys have seen in your tax bills recently, where it was a net release of about a little over $1. The year before, it was like 2.6 million, I believe, somewhere around that number. I think I have that sitting on here.
I think it was.
2.3.
2.3.
2.3 million, 2.268. But in the current tax impact, okay, using the revenue sheet I got from the school, they're conservative, and they estimated 310,000. I determined it was conservative, not them. They didn't say conservative next to it, but I'm going to presume that's conservative. So if they believe the current budget that they're working in right now, they will spend all but $310,000. That's kind of like that means, okay?
Mhm.
So if they are able to spend less, that number that gets returned goes up, tax rate goes down. So it's, again, when you know the parameters for which you're dealing with, at least you can start someplace. Like when tonight, you know, from home on the southeastern tip of Goffstown, the best way for me to get here is Mast Road, all right? But there was an accident in front of the police station, and I couldn't even get past the prison to go down Henry Bridge, so I went the back road. So we have a plan. We start someplace and move. So right now, even if it says 351, that can vary in either direction by a change in revenues, which we can make in our own analysis to find out what we want to do and how we want to do it. But there is no legal method for us to change verbiage on a warrant article. When the warrant article goes out and says, here's the gross appropriation, because the law says you do gross appropriation, less estimated revenue of something. We do not do estimated revenues. So no matter what the school brings up, or the school board comes up with the estimated revenues, it is the budget committee that comes up with the number that goes to the first deliberative session, where the people then get a chance to say whatever they would like to say on the, again, the appropriation side, not the revenue side. Susan?
Yeah, the $1.02 that you saw decrease on your tax rate this year, on the school side of that, it was $1.2 million that we did not spend.
Right, from last year.
And the rest of it was unanticipated revenues. We got a windfall that we were not expecting, and we always estimate revenues on the conservative side, because we don't want to say we're gonna get 6 million and then only wind up with 3. And we always spend conservatively too, so we usually have, although I think all bets are off at the end of this fiscal year.
And thank you. Which means that I'm going to presume, whether that's right or wrong, that there are no expected, let me just ask Ray, is there any expected federal revenue outside the normal scope as it was last year in your revenue estimates that you sent to us?
It's an increase of $40,000.
About 40,000, so there's an increase of 40, so where the year before there was 1.1 million unspent, you said? Then
No, I
they are
didn't say federal
presuming
revenues.
310 now, which might be,
We got 3.3, 1.2 was from the budget,
right, 1.2 from the budget.
right, and the rest
And-
was
Right, so I would
more
presume.
tuition, more from various sources.
Yeah, so I've gotta presume that the 310 is pretty much all from unexpended appropriations estimate. It'd be nice if my little calculator worked, but, thank you. And, Steve is not back, so he's working hard.
He's printing the second page, we've got the
Okay.
first page here, and
Okay, well, we're not gonna go forward, and it's kind of early in the process to take a break. Further questions?
Could you repeat the numbers as far as the impact of the tax impact
Well,
At
if
this
my
budget.
sheet has got the numbers correctly, which I believe it does, but that also includes the Bartlett Capital Reserve Fund, and I believe it's $300,000. So, given the estimated revenue capital reserve fund, there is a net increase of $3.51 at the,
Per
s-
thousand.
at the school board's request, which comes from
Tell you what, just pass
less
that down,
revenue,
follow it with this one.
estimated
Follow what I'm
revenue,
saying?
All right.
Makes sense?
and greater appropriation. It's a combination of both.
Can I follow up?
Just for fun and giggles.
But actually, no, let me,
Mm.
no. I think I misspoke. The estimated revenue, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, was 14,595,686. Does that ring a bell, Ray, for the tax rate last year? That's the number I got off the form. And the current one is 14,636,609. So it's the unreserved fund balance or that did most of the adjustments. The $2.1 million. Okay. All right, let me get back to the 1203.
Sure can.
Thank you.
Here you go, guys.
All right, I have in front of me, and I don't have a second yet, so we're not gonna start discussing anything. I'm just going to
Not a
be,
motion yet.
I haven't,
That's great.
I haven't heard the motion yet.
Yeah, right.
So I'm gonna wait to speak the motion, repeat the motion from the way I understand it to see if it's right before we go for a second. All right, so, and I'm not gonna key it into my little computer yet, but I'm going to have to in order to get totals. All right, let me go ahead and speak it, or do you wanna do it, Bill?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. For expediency's sake, we have it in front of us. That's not a color copy, is it? That was a black and white copy, okay, I was gonna say, look at the red numbers. Regular programs, the adjusted number, I should ask because Doreen wanted me to do it last time. Do you want me to go through the whole thing, or just give you the?
I have it in front of me, as
So
long
you're
as I
okay?
can read it, I'm fine.
Okay, let me read, can you read everything? Do you have a copy of the MS 27 that I sent with my spreadsheet,
This is it.
Doreen?
No, I don't. Yeah.
This one right
Okay,
here.
I'll share with Sue.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is if you couldn't read the copies, I believe the numbers, because I pre-filled columns 4, 5, and 6.
Right,
And so what Bill did is kind of fill in column 8.
right, 8 and 9.
8, 9, 8 would be what he's proposing, 9 would be the
The
adjustment,
percent of change, right?
No.
The amount of change?
Amount of change.
the
Okay.
amount of change. So 1,100 would be 14,879,665. 1,200 would be 6,425,086. 1,300 would be 97,000. 1,400 would be 643,577. 1,600 would be 69,337. 2,000 would be 1,993,893. 2,200 would be 847,366. 2,310 would be 83,310. 2,320 would be a flat $1 million. 2,400 would be 1,878,353. 2,600 would be 3,044,421. 2,700 would be 1,930,049. 2,800 would be 10,300. And there would be no change, so that would not be part. That's it for the motion. If you bear with me, in order for me to have a total, I will go ahead and I will specifically type it in. Because that doesn't actually. Total here. David, do you have a total that you can balance with me, or, I didn't know if you did or not? Okay.
Six
You-
ninety-one, 539, is that right?
Excuse me?
691, 539.
Yeah.
No, actually, part of the motion, anything that does not change is not part of the motion. And there were two numbers I read off that has no change. And that would be vocational programs. That's the 97,000. And it would be the 2,900 also, that, we don't have a 2,900, 2,800, which is support services central and other. So, I'm gonna do a little manual entry here. I've got 33. Your motion is going to go, your total motion, 33,486,596. That is a combination of the accounts that he's looking to adjust. Okay? And he wants to adjust them to,
Excuse me, Dan?
yeah, I'll read it to you in a
No,
moment.
okay, I'm just trying to follow along with this a
Yep.
little bit here.
He's not including.
32,795.
Okay, I follow, thank you.
57.
So anything that was zeroed, we're done adding in that amount. Okay.
That's why he
Right.
said 33 million.
That's what I was trying to get to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David.
That's why I always leave him a seat.
I like doing things 4 different ways, just to make sure. Is your reduction $691,539?
That is
Right.
correct.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what
Yeah,
I
that's where I got the number.
manually added to.
Fantastic. So the numbers I have before us, let me restate the motion. There is a motion on the floor to reduce various function numbers, which we have already read, with total $33,486,596 to $32,795,057, which represents a reduction of $691,539. Is there a second to that motion?
Ivan.
What's that number again, Dan, please?
Excuse
The
me?
new number?
There's not, it's not really a new, it's 32,795,057. That is not the new budget number. That's the reflective number of the particular functions that are being adjusted. Okay? There are 4 other functions that have to be added into it later on, or when we do it. All right, I have a duly, properly motion in a second, and Bill, would you speak to your motion, please? Ivan seconded the motion.
Okay. I carefully went through this and put a proper MS-27 number on each line in the summary budget, which is about 12 or 1,300 lines. And then I went and carefully, as I could, analyze each one of those lines. There are a few 10, 15% cuts in some equipment lines. There's, as suggested by some public comment, there's some headcount reduction at the administrative levels. they show up in there. I've adjusted for the FICA, the unemployment, so on and so forth, for those lines as best I could without having some of the real calculation numbers. I took away the, I believe it was inappropriate, 4.1, whatever it is, % increase for the school board members. And that was pretty much it. It does not touch any salary contractuals.
Ivan, would you care to speak to your second?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Bill has said, and I just think we've been talking for a long time about the state of the economy and how it's so difficult in town for all the things. I don't want to elaborate on the job losses and the decline in value of property taxes and our 401ks and so forth and so on. So I would say that there's a compelling need to reduce spending. Now, this is not level funded by any stretch. This is still quite a bit over last year's budget. It doesn't touch the contractual. And essentially, all our budgets, and this budget too, are bottom line budgets. So that what that means is that adjustments can be made as experience dictates. So I think this is sort of a compromise. It's not a harsh, boy, we got a level fund. It's somewhere in the middle. And I would just urge us to consider it as being fair and appropriate, given the economic circumstances in town.
Anyone wish to speak to the motion? Guy?
May I ask a question of Bill?
No?
Okay.
We're in debate, so if you wanted to state your piece, then you could state your piece. And then someone else can state their piece and read between the lines. Any further discussion, Steve?
I, for one, cannot support this, not because I don't think it's a good number or a bad number, but when I take a budget that's this thick, and I condense it to 2 pages and a few lines and headings, I have no idea exactly where any of these reductions are coming from. I don't think anyone else here who's going to vote on this, besides Bill, has an idea where any of those reductions are coming from. And I would say to that anyone who would vote on a budget and not understand any of the numbers and how we got there would be irresponsible, and it would not be the proper duty of this board to function in this manner.
Yes, Guy?
I would support this motion, and I would differ with what was just said, in that reductions to specific lines, and I've seen some of the work that Bill has done and how he's arrived at some of these numbers. But the point is that with a bottom line budget, it's irrelevant. Any reduction to a bottom line budget is a reduction to the bottom line and not specific lines. These reductions, quote unquote, that Bill is talking about are nothing more than recommendations. And they're unenforceable. And once the process is done, and if this total bottom line reduction passes, then the department heads can say thank you very much for the recommendation and move money from one line to the other and replenish the amounts that they feel are necessary. But ultimately, these lines, this is a suggestion. There's no cut actually being made to a line. There's a recommendation for reducing a line, but ultimately, any reduction is to the bottom line because it's a bottom line budget.
Sue?
Yeah, well, I think it's needless to say that I'm not gonna support this motion. I don't have a lot of confidence in the numbers that are here. And I don't think that I just have to say that I don't believe the numbers are accurate. And I also have to say that I know you're saying it's a recommendation, but we have legal obligations to pay certain things. One is our SAU assessment. We have no choice. We have to pay the whole thing. We can't fire somebody to save some money. We're not autonomous. That board is not autonomous. That board is, but the Goffstown board has no control over that situation. So there are ramifications to taking broad brush approaches to something as serious as the budget. And budget is correct, it's a guideline. But there has to be enough confidence in the numbers to allow our administrators to make good choices.
I've got Christie and then Roger. Go ahead, Christie.
I have confidence in the numbers. I think when we started with the principal's request and listened to Stacy give her presentation, we sat through many, many, many meetings, and where there were questions of spending, I imagine that was what came out of the budget. And I think it's a good, solid reduction, and I have no problem supporting it at all.
Roger, then I have Doreen on the list.
Okay, I can support this, and my reasoning is we took $600,000 from the feds this year for special education creation of programs. We're having a hard time supporting the programs we have to educate our kids. We took money, now we're going to have to pay for that. These are going to be ballooned, keep going and going and going, and we can't afford what we have now. How can we afford more? So we took $600,000, that's a little bit more, and also it's costing us with this current budget over $10,000, well over $10,000 to educate a student. I find that very, very expensive. Thank you.
Doreen?
I can't support this budget, obviously, given my other votes. Frankly, I think that the one duty that a community has over any other duty is to educate its students and to do the very, very best it can, and that's where the bulk of our money goes, and as a taxpayer. And to be honest with you, I think both of my kids have received excellent educations. I'm done. My kids are done. But there are many, many other people in this community whose kids aren't done. And what's going to happen is they're not going to get the same quality education that my kids did. And it costs money to educate kids. That's the bottom line. So I can't support this.
I see Bill first and then Guy. Go ahead, Bill.
I'll comment that, as I've said in the past, I am willing to share my worksheets with anybody who requests them. And I have these things to the dime, each one of these cuts, and if anybody wants them, give me an email address, I'll email it out to you.
I'll put Doreen on the list and Steve as well. Guy, you're next.
I just wanted to comment that I have seen Bill's work and his worksheet, and I don't see from how he's derived these numbers how the quality of education suffers when teacher salaries are not affected, sports programs are not affected, busing isn't affected. Anything that I can see anywhere here that would affect the quality of the education is untouched. I think this is good work.
Doreen?
Bill, your numbers may be very good. I can't really comment on that one way or the other because we're not doing this on a line-by-line basis. We're doing this on a bulk basis.
What I'd like to remind the group, as on Tuesday, this is a debate. All comments really come to
Okay,
the
I'm
chair.
sorry.
But you can make your comment. Feel free to make your comment. I just didn't want to get it personal.
All right, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm basically trying to say that Guy has the benefit of looking at your numbers on a line-by-line basis. We're looking at a bulk basis here. And frankly, I had a problem with the way that was done at the meeting for the town, and I also have a problem with the way it's done for the school, because if there's a child, if these numbers do not include the things that Guy is speaking about, that We haven't had the benefit of looking at that, and we went through a 6-week or 8-week process of looking at every single solitary line. And frankly, there are some things I would have recommended cutting, but I can't support cutting $692,000 out of this budget based on a bulk number.
Steve, you're on the list?
I would just like to remind everyone of their duties here. As elected to the board, you were put in charge to develop a budget. What you're looking at here is that you're relying on one person saying, here is the budget.
Now, if you could, as a point of order.
And I will bring it back.
Reminding the board of the duties is my job. If you wanna say what you feel your duties are, and that's okay,
Then
but
I will
you're making it
rephrase it,
personal.
I feel our duties are
Okay. I have
to
it on the
produce
list.
a budget that we understand. As an elected person, elected to this, to the board, you should be looking at this budget, understanding it, and not just relying on one person to produce it for you. If I was to rely on this, it would be to say, Steve, I could have stayed home all this time. Someone could have said, hey, here's the number reduction today, let's just go. That was not what I was brought here to do. My job was brought here to look at the budget, understand the lines, and make the correct decisions as best as I could. And trusting that to one person, you haven't done your duty.
Swayed back into it.
I have to.
I have John, I have Roger, and then I have Dick.
I'll speak.
Honestly, we've all been through the budget line by line. I actually agree with Bill on these reductions as well. And the oath that I took when I was sworn into this, to the Budget Committee, was to uphold the U.S. and the New Hampshire Constitution. And that's where I have an issue with what was just said by our selectmen. That's
getting personal.
I understand that, but that was the oath that I took, and that's the oath that all of us took. It actually was to uphold the New Hampshire Constitution. But I support this reductions here that Bill Gordon has worked so hard at. We've been through this with him. I've seen what he did, and I think it's a responsible reduction. It's 2% of the budget, basically.
I've got Roger, then Dick, then Christie. Roger?
Mr. Chair, I just would like to say again that
Hang on,
we-
guys, I can't hear,
I'll bring them outside, is that okay, so he understands
Yes.
where we're at?
Thank you.
I'd just like to say again that we received $600,000. I made it known when they talked about the very beginning, I said send it back. Too many strings attached. We are creating more programs for less kids for more money. It's going to hurt this town. We need to stop it now. There are too many strings attached, that's my belief.
Okay, at this point, are you gonna say anything different than last
No, I
time,
just
because
wanna
we're
make
being
sure that
redundant?
everybody and the people on the
Right.
TV here understand.
We wanna make sure,
We're creating.
we wanna make sure that our
Well,
comments
Let me,
are not.
excuse me, I'd like to wind this into why I'm saying it again. I've done my duty. My duty was, at the very beginning, I said, no, I'm going to hold fast on no. And when someone says, we're not doing our duties, I've done my duty. I don't think the taxpayers can afford to create more programs, because we can't afford the programs we have.
That would
Thank
be,
you.
I would like to ask the committee to, try not to be redundant. We may have a lot of work to do, and I'll put you on the list, Dave. Dick?
I have to concur with so many things that I hear here, but basically, nobody has come to me and said, nobody in Goffstown comes to me and said, oh, don't let them cut the budget. they're leaving it up to me, like they're leaving it up to every one of you. How many people have called up and said, don't do this and don't do that, or add this or add that? So I think it's my responsibility to look at this budget, which I've been to the meetings. I didn't make every one of them, but the ones I missed, I saw them on TV. And, you know, the kids in Goffstown are getting a pretty good education, I feel, and they have been for years, because I've been around for years. And I know many kids that have gone on to college, and they've gone beyond that, and they've been lawyers and doctors, you name it. And they're getting a good education. My kids got a good education. They went to college, and I guess I have to decide what's best for the town of Goffstown right now without any input from anybody other than budget committees and the school board and the school administrators. And so I've made up my mind that it was a little bit too much, and if we went through it line by line, I would suggest where to cut it. But that's not the way we voted to do this, and that's why I had suggested it the last time we met for the town budget. So therefore, looking at it, I can go along with it. It's not less than what it was last year, it's more. And I think that because of the economy and what you hear around, it kind of leads me to go along with these figures. I still say this to you, no matter what we do here, it's not over. The taxpayer has a final say, and they're gonna have their input, and they're gonna be able to get a hold of you and tell you to do something different.
Christie, and then I have Dave.
I think the budget that we voted on originally with having a 3.51%, I'm sorry, $3.51 increase per thousand would not be beneficial to the taxpayers right now. And I don't think the majority of taxpayers would like to see that. And I think this is a very reasonable reduction.
David?
I support the motion for the following reason. I looked at, compared the 7 expenditures to the 08 expenditures, roughly 3%. You compare the 08 expenditures to the 09 budget, roughly 3%. And therefore I said, let's go for the same 3% on the 10 budget, 2010 budget. I would have taken more money out, but I'll compromise for your 690.
Would you like to make a motion?
I
All
just,
right, hang on, I need to do this. All right. I don't see any more hands, so I'm gonna pipe in my personal comments. The analysis I did also reflects the similar one that I did last year. What I did was I went back to the most recent ended fiscal year, and looked at the general fund expenditures, and they were $32,109,367. And I went through looked at what their encumbrance was at the end of the year, which the number I have, it was $869,166. I got that off the June report, and it might, hopefully it's correct, it looked pretty good. Which would have made an expenditure of $32,978,533 for the fiscal year that just ended, money that would come out of that budget. The default budget as calculated by the school board, which I feel is more than what my interpretation of the law would be, was $1,264,986 in the budget we're in today. So I took the actual expenditures and put the budget adjustments for those defaults. And the default, that's the current default calculated, which was $1,716,768. That's the current default. And I come up with what I'm gonna call an adjusted flat fund of $35,960,287. That keeps the numbers what the level that we were spending, keeping that same level of spending and adding in all of the required adjustments and contractual obligations, the difference between that and the school board request was $666,155 more. So, I was looking at that number. The number coming before us is $691,539. The difference is $25,384. It's fairly close to a rational flat funding, which kind of tells me unless I saw something that was pretty big, or a new program, or something that we really wanted to fund, then we should be able, in the times that we're in, hopefully, we can really scrape the bones and get things done with a lower number. That's my reasoning. Is there anyone else that'd like to be put on the list? Seeing none, I will
It's a responsible budget.
restate the motion. Is anyone would like it in detail, or may I just say that the function codes 1100, 1200, 1400, 1600, 2000, 2200, 2310, 2320, 2400, 2600, and 2700 are being modified respectfully by downward $76,324, $98,185, $12,023, $72, $73.93, $17,425, $28.69, $129,052, $300,258, $35,612, and $12,326. Those total originally $33,486,596. The adjusted number would be $32,795,057 for those particular function codes as listed on the MS-27, representing a reduction of $691,539. Do we all ready for the question? All those in favor of the reduction, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3. That's the entire committee, so if you would bear with me, I need to take this as a roll call.
Excuse me.
Bill abstain?
Bill.
Oh, you're 15. How are you gonna vote?
Is that abstain?
Okay, would you, let me take the roll call, and then we might read if you so care to
That's fine.
read a reason into the record. Dan, aye. Bill Gordon?
Aye.
Bill Hart?
Abstain.
Kathy?
I'm sorry.
Aye or nay?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Dick?
Aye.
Doreen?
Nay.
Enid?
Aye.
Guy?
Aye.
Ivan?
Aye.
John?
Yay.
Roger?
Yes.
Steve?
Nay.
Sue?
No.
That is 11-3-1. The motion thus passes. Are there any other further motions on the floor?
I'm not gonna rub it.
Seeing none, as we did on Tuesday, we decided that we would not put forth a number to public hearing until next week, because there was something. I would suggest that what we do is also do the same for this, but I would like to be prepared to take this up next Tuesday. We'll have an agenda next Tuesday. We'll go through the town, see if we can get to a number to vote to public session. Once we completed that, and if it's early enough, why don't we just segue to the school as well, so that we don't have to come out 2 nights if we finish our work. Is anyone adverse to that? Okay. Then we have, at the moment, suspended our motions to modify. Any kind of new business, David?
You're still intending to have public comment for the next session on Tuesday?
Yes. so if there's any public comment, one of the things that I was thinking about is we do like to hear from the public. One of the things that we're gonna do on the 6th of January is indeed that. We're gonna bring the number that you guys vote majority, prepare the presentation, and we will meet to deliver our numbers to the public and hear what they wanna say about it. And then we can go from there. It would be then at our meeting on, I believe it's January 19th, that we would actually solidify that number to send it to deliberative session, okay? Once we solidify the number, then we would recommend it. I mean, we can't do similar duties of last year of coming up with a number and not recommending. We found that so painfully bad that whatever number we come up with, we gotta recommend it. We can't just do something like that. Any further questions procedurally or whatever? I'm gonna try to make sure that, maybe I'll put a slight agenda, public comment, if there any be, will proceed for the town. Did I miss anything?
Maybe a verification of those numbers regarding they're in the right order?
Yes, in fact, I did as the discussion was being made, and I will send, as I did on Tuesday night, did everybody get a copy? Hopefully I didn't print one for you, but I sent it that same night. I did the work, and I sent it out to you so that you would all see the vote and you would all see the numbers. The other thing that we're gonna do on the 15th of December, similar to the town and the school, we have two other entities we need to discuss, and that would be the Goffstown Water Village District and the Grassmere Water Village District. Will we have the numbers from Grassmere? Could you get those to me as soon as possible, so that we can get them out? I did.
That means Friday,
Okay,
5 o'clock.
okay. Very, very fun. And so we'll need to do that on December 15th as well. Similar to procedures we're doing here. I don't suspect it will take very long. One of the things I would ask Steve, even next Tuesday, we still need to look at special articles. That was the other thing I was looking for.
I do not think you will have that next Tuesday, just so
Okay,
you know.
would you be prepared to speak on the special articles? Or have
Let me see,
someone
I-
here?
Well, we know the articles, we're just not exactly how we're bringing them forth at this point, so I'll know more on Monday. There might be some changes.
One of the things I can do for the select board and the school board is that unless we have whatever, cause, do you know if, are there any special articles from the school, Sue, coming? Are you
We
aware?
talked about them, we'll be talking about articles again Monday night.
Okay, we do need to have those
I
because
think that's gonna be
all-
like 5 total,
well,
whole warrant.
Okay, but any special articles with appropriations
I believe,
are under our purview.
right, I think that we're gonna be looking to adding to the elementary school capital
The Capital
reserve.
reserve, yeah.
As far as an appropriation is concerned, is that it? Yeah, and we're going to be, asking to use some of the, what do you call it, impact fees to start the study on the elementary schools. So there's no tax impact on that, so I don't know if.
But as an appropriation, it has to come before the board. We don't adjust the number. It's any appropriation comes before the board for a recommend or a non-recommend, no matter what source of the revenue. So we would like to have those, if possible, if we have them for next Tuesday or the 15th, the latest.
Yeah.
So that we can discuss it among ourselves before we go to public session. Because we can't, I can't, we need to know where we're going with that. That'd be helpful. David, did I?
You answered my question.
Okay. John?
Why do they need to put that on a warrant article?
What's that?
Impact fees. If they have that money, can't they spend that?
No, we
Need the
cannot.
appropriation.
No, because I believe the
We need voter approval to spend
voter
it.
approval to spend the impact fees, and if you don't, then the fees revert back to the contributors.
Yes, the developers, if we don't get permission to spend it, it reverts back to the developers.
I'm not sure if it's RSA or not, but I would venture to guess it's something that's pretty firm, but we can check on that. Further comments, discussion,
Question?
clarification, Sue?
Are we having our regular monthly meeting on the 22nd?
15th.
On the 15th,
15th.
okay.
Because the Tuesday was the first.
Ah, the 1st, that's right.
Yeah, so we get
okay.
we have the earliest method.
Yep.
And, next Tuesday, when I looked at the calendar, we should probably be in here. And then if we get our work done, we'll take Thursday off. And then come back on the 15th. And then we come back on the 6th, and then we come back on the 19th of January. Yes, sir.
I would like a copy of your worksheets.
Send me your email.
I'm sorry?
Would this committee be
Send me
adverse?
email?
Let me ask you this question, Bill.
I'll email it.
If you email it to me, and I email it to the general committee, it becomes a public document.
That's fine.
It's already a public document.
Well, has a majority of the budget committee members already seen it? No, I'm not gonna go there,
Oh,
but,
I'm talking
about
about
this.
this.
oh no, you're talking about the details
Yes.
behind
Yeah.
this. Yes, that would be, but let me remind you, and I think you did, if there are those, I noticed some of the committee members, this is not a warning, this is just an administrative thing. If 9 members of the budget committee share data, okay?
Yeah.
That, in the view of the law, now becomes a public document, okay? Even if it wasn't officially distributed by the chair. So if you do that, please include me so I don't get surprised. 5 is not 9, so we're okay. But if you do send it to me, Bill, I will go ahead and I will forward to the membership.
I will do that.
Any further discussions, clarification, where we're going from here? So,
You don't have my correct email address.
would you like to give it to me after the meeting? or
No,
you
I would
wanna
like
do
to
it-
give it to you right now.
and if
It's
not-
still TRMBLY, but it's at Comcast.
Oh,
.net.
really?
Say it
Yes.
again slow.
You finally came to your senses.
Yes,
T-R-M.
actually do get my emails now.
Wow.
Has it been being
Minus
forwarded
the
to you? That's why your husband did it. I will make the change. Thank you.
Actually, I've been getting them better since they've been forwarded,
Okay.
since I did, than I did when I had
Is there any further? No, we haven't gone and
Fairpoint.
I'll explain that next time. Any further discussions, comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved by John. Christie, second. May I have a show of hands? Who's in favor? Thank you, Andrew. We are adjourned.
Another 4.